Good afternoon and welcome to this special edition of Faith, Family, and Political Affairs. I must come clean with you on the fact that I had not planned to do this um, episode of Faith, Family, and Political Affairs. It is purely driven by new developments in these deportation tactics. I did not mean for this to become a personal mission. It just feels like that's what is happening for me. I was bothered from the beginning with the tactics of detaining mostly male um, suspected illegal immigrants. Okay? Because this is still America and people are still innocent until proven guilty. So they are not illegals, as the gentleman Stephen Miller likes to refer to them, uh, until they are proven to be illegal. And then they are not just illegals, they are illegal people. Okay? So, want to make sure that we keep in mind that these are human beings. This is the piece that I continue to lose sleep over: the treatment of the children. So I have called this "What About the Children?" Part 2. Because as you know, about a month and a half ago, I addressed this issue. At that time, it was primarily that the children were not being granted any legal representation. Okay? When their parents are suspected of being in the country illegally, some of them, and I'm sure you've seen the videos, you've seen the news reports. If you haven't, you can certainly Google it. You can go to YouTube, you can go to TikTok, whatever is your way of streaming news. Traditional news media is doing some coverage, but not the way that the independent streaming services are doing it. And that's all I'll say about that for now. Okay, so it's one thing if you suspect that parents are in the country illegally. There are laws in place on the books that everyone about due process, and I talked about that the last time. Due process is two words that are very important in the American legal system, or at least the phrase used to be very important. And it simply meant that if you were accused of any crime, that you had an opportunity to go before a court or before a representative of the court to state your case, to say whether you think you're innocent or guilty, and to state your case. Okay, that is a part of the legal system, due process. But these people who were being detained, which is a nice way of saying snatched off the street, okay, by people who are wearing masks. I mean, our police officers don't wear masks. In America, the only people who abducted people and wore masks were the Klan, okay, the KKK back in the day. And certainly, if you're too young to know who the KKK is, ask your parents. That is a documented part of American history that I will not broach here. But they wore masks, okay? They wore hooded masks. They covered their faces to lynch people, to go into people's homes. Emmett Till was snatched out of his home that way while he was visiting relatives in the South. Okay? Google that name, Emmett Till. That's one of the children that we lost. Okay? So we cannot pretend that these children are not also children. Okay? So I'm just feeling led to advocate from my little perch. I come out under the banner of Fran Arrington. I don't have a media operation behind me or anything. I'm a concerned citizen. I'm a mother. I'm a grandma. When I see these young children now being handcuffed, one little girl was sitting in the passenger side with her mom, and the ICE agents came to arrest her mom. Her mom could not get the window down fast enough to show ID, and so they took a baton and broke the window of the car. And of course, you know that shattered glass into the car. So the young girl is sitting in the passenger side screaming. Her mom is trying to respond to these officers. I don't call them officers of the law. I call them officers of the Trump administration. When in America have our laws been executed in this manner before this administration? Not in my lifetime. Okay, so, and in that instance, they just snatched the woman out of the car. There seems to be no difference made in these agents who mostly are men, it appears. I've seen a couple of women doing these ICE raids, but there seems to be no difference made in how they handle women and how they handle men. When I've seen pictures of them tackling women to the floor, to the ground, okay, and cuffing them. It is because they don't see these women as women. They don't see these immigrants as people. They are treating them as if they are things. So I mean, I'll stop there. This is what moves me, okay? This is because in America, that's not what we do. Or is it? Okay, so let's move forward to today. This is the reason that I'm led to do this today. I was watching my usual Sunday shows, and I stumbled across Ali Velshi Show on MSNBC. And he had an incredible report on how the children of suspected illegal immigrants are being treated. And I'm going to try to share the screen so that you can see the graphic that he shared that moved my conscience. And I'm not great with the technology, so I'm going to try to share this screen with you so that you can see this graphic. What is so stunning to me about this graphic is, as you can see, it represents the unaccompanied migrant children and how long they stay in federal custody. First of all, did you even know that they go into federal custody? They do. So for the young girl who was in the car with her mom, see, something has to happen to her if they just snatch her mom out of the car and her mom is driving. So now they're detaining the children. The children are not criminals by any stretch of the imagination. They're not criminals. Even if you were to say the parents are here illegally, the children came with their parents. They're not illegal. They haven't broken any laws. They, in my humble opinion, do not deserve this kind of treatment. Some of the children are being frisked. You will see that video later. A little girl who looks like she's about 10 years old, an officer is patting her down and going through her pockets. It's just offensive. Okay, so the graphic before us right now documents the change in how the children are being treated. I just had to share this with my audience. My prayer, because you know I believe in prayer, my prayer is that one person in a position of authority might see my Zoomcast, hear of it, and do what I am not able to do to affect some kind of change in the treatment of these children. So the average length of stay in federal custody, first of all, when you snatch up their parent and they're with their parent, you also detain. That's the nice word. You detain the child also, the children. So the average length of stay in January of 2025, when Donald Trump became president of these United States, the average time that the children would stay in federal custody as their parents are waiting to have their uh, status determined to be legal or illegal, okay? But the length of time in January was about 37 days. 37 days is still a long time. It's more than a month for a child. Some of these are babies, okay? 37 days, as if that wasn't bad enough. Because you think to yourself, if you snatch a parent out of a car, didn't you have a plan for if a child was there? A humane plan. Okay, like what were you going to do with the child? And so 37 days the children remain in custody. That was the average in January. But look at how it's jumped from the time that Donald Trump has been making America great again. Look at how long they keep children in detention. who have not committed any crime. They're just here with their parents. You know for yourself, if you're a parent, your children go where you go. They don't have a choice in it. They go where you take them. So these children are not criminals. But look at how long they stay in custody now. The average is 154 days. Slow down and do the math. If we say the months are about 30 days in a month, that's about 5 months. That's a little more than 5 months. That's almost half a year that these children are staying in detention. That's the average. And of course, average just means some might stay a little bit shorter time and some might stay longer. But my question, and they stay in this place that's called the Office of Refugee Resettlement. Many of these children are born in the United States of America. They're not refugees. Okay, so as I said in my first video on addressing this topic, somebody will have to answer for the treatment of the children. It may not be Donald Trump. He may be long out of office. He may be long gone. But somebody in the United States of America will have to answer for the way these children are being treated. Okay? So my question is, what are you doing with a child in detention for 5 months? Have you checked on their medical, conditions? Do they get their medicines? Are they getting hygiene, proper hygiene? Are they getting mental health counseling? Is anybody looking out for their mental well-being? Because this has to be traumatic. You just picked them up out of the car or out of some of the migrants have been picked up in the fields. So how are we treating these children? Are they being taken care of? Some of them are very, very young. So just keep this graphic in mind, and I would urge you to go and take a look at Ali Velshi's entire segment on this. It was very powerful. And he interviewed a former government representative, I believe, who was under the Biden administration, on how egregious this treatment of the children has become. And in keeping with Project 2025, these children, for the most part, do not get any legal representation. And in some cases, they are not allowed to contact relatives. Because for one, if you're 3 or 4 or 5 years old, do you even know how to contact anybody? You have your children at home, your grandchildren or whatever. If they're 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, do they even know who to call in a situation like this? Remember the scripture, inasmuch as you've done it unto the least of these. And that could be something good. The word of the Lord says, inasmuch as you've done it unto the least of these, you've done it also unto me. That's something good. And inasmuch as you've not done something for the least of these, then you have not done it unto me. So if you have not provided the proper care, the proper health, the proper attention, the proper love, the if you have not provided that to these children and you call yourself a Christian nation, do you think that's in keeping with what you're taught when you go to church on Sundays, when you go to Bible study on Wednesday nights, Tuesday nights, whatever night it is for you? Because a lot of the Trump people and the MAGA people, not Trump, he doesn't ever talk about God. God doesn't God came out of his mouth maybe a couple times during the election when he said, "My beautiful Christians, if you vote for me this time, you'll never have to vote again." That's a whole nother video. Okay, that's a whole nother conversation. But you just don't hear him or Melania for that matter talk about God or Jesus. And I won't go too far into that because I don't like to judge people's faith and how they work it out and walk it out. But if you and the MAGA people, they consider themselves Christian. Of course, they believe in this newfangled Christian nationalism. Okay. Um, but if you call yourself Christian and you're treating these children this way, how do you reconcile that with the word of the Lord? How do you reconcile that? Okay. So again, check out Ali Velshi's Sunday broadcast for this full report that he did on this. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen now, and I'm going to try to get back to the video of the young girl being detained. So let me just stop sharing the screen and get back to you on that. Okay, let's just put a pin there for a minute, as they say. So if you still believe in the laws of the land, what would you say is the best way to address this? Because I don't think that anyone who voted for Harris Wall's ticket I don't think the people who voted for Trump, for the Trump Vance ticket, expected this kind of treatment. Certainly not of children. I don't think that people, even in MAGA, expected people to be chased down in the fields as if there is a whole bunch of Americans sitting somewhere wanting to go out into a field and pick beans and cotton and corn. And, you know, whose jobs are they taking? Let's be real. Let's keep it real. Whose job are they taking? Whose jobs? Who's waiting to go out there in that hot sun and pick cucumbers all day long? And they say they hardly pay them anything, $4 or $5 an hour. Okay, so let's move forward. Also wanted to share a video of a young girl being detained after her parent, she was in the car with her parent, after her parent was picked up by these ICE agents. And why? Again, why are they wearing masks? That is so frightening. This gentleman who arrested the young girl, he had a vest on that just said sheriff on the back. And his face, well, at least his face was not covered. But let's try to watch that video. I'm going to, again, try to share the screen so that you can see that video. This video comes to us from um, a broadcast called Hawk, HAWK podcast. And this gentleman, I mean, he is doing some incredible work in keeping up with how the children are being treated. But really, oh, there's a problem with the video. Let me just see if I can get that to play. Okay, let's try to do that again. Um, Again, Hawk brought podcast, HAWK podcast, and he can be found on YouTube. Okay, we're trying to share the screen so that you can watch this video with me. It's saying that we are sharing the screen, but the video is not playing. One thing. My apologies, because sometimes the technology is not agreeable, but okay, there it is. Okay, there it is. There it is. Now let's see if I can share it.
Remain silent. Just be sure you remain silent, okay? Don't answer any questions. Okay, please do.
Patience. We have to see this video because it's unbelievable. Are you noticing that she's handcuffed? And
Remain silent. Just be sure you remain silent, okay? Don't answer any questions. Okay, please do.
he's in full armor, full gear, as if he's arresting a hardened criminal. And he's actually frisking her, doing her pockets. That's the owner of the video. He's doing some incredible work. He's all over social media, doing some incredible work right now. Look for his podcast.
Remain silent. Just be sure you remain silent, okay? Don't answer any questions. Okay, please do.
And I guess this officer thinks he's doing this young girl a favor by advising her to plead the fifth, should anybody ask her any questions. as if the child knows about pleading the fifth. I'm just letting you watch it again. Because I want you to pay attention to the handcuffs, okay? To the sides of the child.
Remain silent. Just make sure you remain silent, okay? Don't answer any questions. Just answer. Keep the fifth.
And just think how uncomfortable you get, even when you're stopped, like for a traffic violation. Because confrontation with officers, even if it's pleasant, are uncomfortable. But imagine a child who's just been separated from her parent. Okay. What is he looking for
Sure you remain silent, okay?
in her pocket? What is he looking for in a child's pocket? Okay. Okay, I have now stopped sharing the screen, and thank you for your patience on as I worked through that technology. Again, I came to you tonight because, quite frankly, I don't know what I can do. I'm no longer, in the media reporting the news as I used to be, and I had a little bit of clout back then, but I don't have even that now. I mean, I'm a citizen. Again, but I'm a concerned citizen. And I just think that this is a time for all of us to be concerned and to do whatever it is that we can do from our little spaces. If you think that this is okay, then you don't need to do anything. But if you don't think that this is okay, my mantra is do whatever you can, wherever you can, whenever you can. You may not be able to hit the streets and go to a protest march. As I said in my earlier video, I always admire people who do that. As a former member of the media, we were just it was not a part of our job that we could do protests because we were supposed to remain neutral. Okay, so it has just been my way not to do that. But I speak out, I write about injustices that I see, and I try to create dialogue among those who might be able to affect some change. That's what faith, family, and political affairs is all about. This is a forum for people to discuss any of the topics that fall under the umbrella of faith, which I think these deportation tactics fall under your faith? What do you believe is right? Okay, and moral. So, and then family, of course. I don't like to judge people. I don't like to assume things about people, certainly who I don't know. I don't know Donald Trump or Melania Trump. We know what we know about them from what you see in the news. I don't know Stephen Miller, this young man who they say, reports say, has always been like anti anybody who's not white. Um, he would like to see the country get back down to about 100 million people, I believe it is, as opposed to 300 million. So he would like for about 250 million of us to disappear. And, the ones that he would like to keep look like him. They don't look like me. I don't know where Stephen Miller came from. I don't want to know. I just know that the United States of America is a country built by a lot of different people who look very different. Okay. And so anyone who imagines that only one group of people has the rights to this country is just delusional. Even if they do have the reins of power right now, it's a delusion. Okay. And, what is that saying? Truth can sit on the throne for a while. I mean, lies, mistruths can sit on the throne for a while, but they must come down because truth must prevail. So, their version of America, this version that they're selling right now, uh, Stephen Miller is the architect, one of the architects of this alligator Alcatraz. He's very proud that human beings are in a facility that should they escape, they might be chased down by alligators. And even your president made a joke about it. Guess they're going to teach them how to run from alligators. There is a history to that. I wish that you could hear Joy Ann Reid on her show talk about it. Uh, Check it out on YouTube, the Joy Ann Reid Show. She did a little segment on Alcatraz, the alligator Alcatraz, and she gave a little history on it where she talked about this phrase that's called gator baiting, okay? Where this is a part of American history that they used to toss African American slave babies into the water to attract alligators because the skin of alligators is quite lucrative if you get it and you can cut them up, and sell them, make shoes and stuff. So there were people who actually used babies as bait. That's the history. Google it. Ask Siri about it. Wherever you get your quick news, do your research. Learn some history. Joy, I didn't know that history. So that's why to some of them it's humorous When they talk about alligator Alcatraz, they laugh about it. Go to Fox and check them out. When they talk, the women too. It's not just, people always get white men. Oh, no. Some of the women, they just laugh about alligator Alcatraz. The thought that if some of the prisoners were to escape, that they would get chased down and eaten by alligators. Okay, this is where we are in 2025 in the United States of America, which used to be God's shining city on the hill that everybody aspired to be like, that the world, was trying to get to. I'll close with this. When I was taught to type, we were taught on typewriters. I'm showing my age now. And we used to have to type this phrase. I hope somebody from Washington, North Carolina will remember this. That was in my grade when we were learning how to type. And we used to have to type this phrase because it supposedly, it taught you how to reach for all the keys that you were going to need to learn how to type. And the phrase was, now is the time for all good men to come to the aid of their country. Now, if you're my age and you're from Little Washington and you remember that, shout out. Shout out. I always say that if I were in Africa, I would be a griot because I remember, those little nuggets like that. But now is the time to come to the aid of your country. That comes to mind right now. I'm smiling about it and I'm laughing about it, joking, but I'm in all seriousness. These are very unusual times, and we need to be doing whatever we can, wherever we can, whenever we can, to say that we do not agree with this egregious treatment of immigrants who have not been convicted, and in particular of children who are not granted any legal representation, who are snatched away from their parents, and who are being detained in federal detention centers for an average of 5 months. Okay. Thank you for listening. I appreciate you. I appreciate all of my audience. I do. Again, this was not one that I planned. And but I do thank you for listening in. I think this is urgent. And I'm looking for a way to get involved beyond what I do in my broadcast. I'm looking for ways to get involved. I'm in a new community right now, so I don't know a lot of people, but I'm looking for ways to get involved. If you have some suggestions for me or for people in my audience on how to affect some change or how to get involved, please drop it in the comments. Also, just comment on this topic. Do you want to hear more about it? Do you care about it? Is it just me who is moved by the treatment of these children? And what would you say? How would you address it if you had the resources, the opportunity, the outreach, and the ability to affect change? What would you do? Thank you so much again for tuning in. This has been Faith, Family, and Political Affairs.